The movie opens with a woman named Ava who has just returned to a childhood home in Southport. After getting ready, she excitedly heads off to attend the engagement party of her high school friends Danica and Teddy. Upon her arrival, Ava and Danica are thrilled to reunite after a long time, and we soon learn that Ava's ex Milo is also at the party. That evening, after the celebration, Ava, Danica, Milo, and Teddy hang out together and catch up on their lives. Danica then urges Ava and Milo to move back to Southport, but both of them are unwilling to give up the lives they've built. The group decides to head to a summit to watch the breathtaking 4th of July fireworks. But before they can leave, they come across Stevie, another high school friend who was once a member of their gang. It turns out that after her father ran off with the college fund, Stevie slowly drifted away from everyone. The group feels sorry for her and invites her to join them in watching the fireworks. Stevie is initially hesitant because she is actually on duty, but when a co worker urges her to go, she eventually agrees. Next, the five of them get into a vehicle and set off to make the night unforgettable. After driving for a while, they find a perfect spot to watch the fireworks and pull over. However, a drunk Teddy quickly becomes annoying, standing in the middle of the road and goofing around. The car soon approaches in the distance and the others yell at him to move, but Teddy doesn't seem to care. Fortunately, Milo pulls him out of the way at the last moment. Danica begins scolding him, but Teddy is thrilled by his reckless stunt and still stands in the middle of the road. And then all of a sudden, the driver avoids Teddy but crashes into the fence, leaving the vehicle dangling dangerously above jagged roads. The group begins to panic upon seeing this, and Teddy finally comes to his senses. He desperately tries to save the driver, while the rest of the group struggles to hold on to the truck. But unfortunately, the vehicle slips from their grasp and plummets to the rocks below with a brutal crash, leaving the group frozen in horror. They begin panicking and debating what to do, during which Teddy manages to call the cops. He then tells the group they need to leave immediately, but Ava refuses since she believes the driver is still alive and insists they must go down to help. When Teddy assures her that they're just heading to the station, she eventually agrees to leave with them. However, instead of taking them to the police station, Teddy takes the group to his house instead. He warns them that his father is powerful and will handle everything, but they must swear never to tell a soul about what happened tonight. Everyone agrees except Ava. Danica then tries to convince her, warning that the truth could destroy their entire lives. In the end, Ava reluctantly agrees and walks out with tears streaming down her face. The scene then cuts to a year later where we see Ava returning to the town once again. At the airport, she crosses paths with a woman named Tyler and hooks up with her. Afterward, Tyler asks for a ride to Southport since she's heading there too, and Ava agrees without hesitation. Later, Milo arrives to pick up Ava, and during the drive, he asks Tyler about her reasons for being here. She responds that she hosts a true crime podcast and has come to Southport to record an episode about the horrific massacre that shook the town in 1997. Shortly after, Milo and Ava arrive at Danica's bridal shower where Stevie is also present. It turns out that last year's events have brought Danica and Stevie extremely close, which surprises Ava. The guests then gather around Danica, who eagerly begins opening gifts one by one. But at one point, she suddenly comes across a gift card that says, "I know what you did last summer," which scares the life out of her. She nervously asks who gave the card, but no one responds. Danica's fiance Wyatt approaches her, revealing that she and Teddy are not together anymore. Later, Danica shows the card to her friends in private and suspects Teddy sent it out of resentment for her wedding. It turns out Teddy was traumatized by last year's events and he went insane and alcoholic. Milo doesn't think it's Teddy and wonders if it could be someone connected to the victim, Sam Cooper. But Stevie reveals she did some digging and found out Sam didn't have any family or relatives. Afterward, Milo, Stevie, and Ava approach Teddy, who spends his days drinking heavily on his boat. They show him the threatening card that Danica received and ask if he's behind it, but he firmly denies any involvement, saying it's Danica's problem if she's the only one receiving it. That night, Danica feels extremely anxious, so she soaks herself in the bathtub while listening to meditation on her headphones. Meanwhile, Wyatt, who is downstairs, suddenly notices the light outside turn on by himself, which confuses him. He goes to check, but there's no one, and the light mysteriously turns off again. And then, all of a sudden, the injured man collapses to the ground while screaming, but Danica can't hear anything because of her headphones. After an immense struggle, Wyatt somehow manages to land on his feet, but it isn't long before he is viciously attacked again by the harpoon in his abdomen. The poor guy thinks it's a robbery and tells the attacker to take anything they want. We then see the attacker dressed in a black raincoat with a hidden face, holding a large hook, delivering the final blow without mercy. Shortly after, Danica arrives downstairs, where she shockingly comes across Wyatt's lifeless body and a phrase that says, "You can't erase the past." Later, we see her at the police station where her friends show up to comfort her. Danica is overwhelmed with guilt since she didn't hear his scream or help him, even though she was home. At this moment, Teddy also arrives with his father, Grant, who assures Danica that he will assign a patrol to keep watch over her house. The next day, the group reunites to try and understand why Wyatt was killed, since he had nothing to do with the accident from last year. Milo then suspects Ava's new friend Tyler, who hosts a true crime podcast and is here to investigate the 1997 murders. They listen to a podcast and discover that in 1997, a fisherman killed a group of teenagers who were trying to get away with murder. It turns out the fisherman sliced them all one by one with his deadly hook, and it all began with an anonymous note. Hearing this, the group becomes even more suspicious due to the many similarities between the current situation and the 1997 massacre. Teddy, on the other hand, warns them that they won't find much information because his father, a powerful property developer, has wiped all of the case files to hide the truth from his investors. With no other choice, Ava goes to meet with Tyler, who invites her to help with the investigation of the original massacre. They soon arrive at the Bayside house, which was the location of one of the fisherman's heinous attacks. Tyler reveals that back then, a woman named Julie James found a warning note after which the killings began. When asked what was in the note, Tyler responds, "I know what you did last summer." This brings back haunting memories for Ava. Tyler then asks her to wait for a while as she goes to check upstairs. Here, Ava grows increasingly suspicious of this woman and even updates her friends about her location. But moments later, she notices the killer fisherman standing right in front of her. She thinks it's Tyler, but then she notices Tyler is still upstairs and urgently yells at her to run. Following this, the fisherman begins attacking Ava while Tyler tries to run away, but the door gets jammed. Ava somehow manages to hurt the killer and locks herself in a room, but when she emerges moments later, she cannot find the fisherman and instead encounters Tyler, who is shaken. And then this happens. A massive cage traps Ava, so she urges Tyler to seek help, and the latter rushes to manually operate the elevator to find another way out. But unfortunately, she's approached by the fisherman who attempts to attack her. Meanwhile, Ava notices that Stevie saw her message and has arrived outside, but unfortunately, she can't get in as all the doors are locked. Soon, Tyler escapes the fisherman's grasp and arrives at another floor. But before she can get away, the fisherman suddenly reappears and launches a brutal attack with his hook. This is Ava breaks free from the cage. Tyler uses her last remaining strength to rip off the killer's hood. As she gaps in shock and she recognizes the face. At the same time, Ava manages to escape the house and reunites with Stevie outside, right when they spot Tyler hanging by the neck out the window, sparking panic among the onlookers. The police soon arrive and a shaken Ava is comforted by her friends. The next day, Ava goes to meet Julie, who now lives in another town and teaches at a university. She frantically tells Julie about what's happening in Southport and begs for her help. Julie thinks it's a
What
joke
do you
at
think I'm
first,
gonna
but
do
when
about it?
she
I
realizes
just
it's
need.
serious, she invites Ava to her home. The young
What
woman
do you know
shares
about her?
everything from the accident to the anonymous
Are you
note
serious?
to
I
the
mean,
series of
so you
massacres.
people. And
Ava
before that,
invites her to
and
Southport
the
to help
cops
them,
are to know
but
that the
Julie
Southport
claims she
PD is
promised
still number
herself
one
never to go back
gaslighting.
there again.
I
She then
promised to
advises
myself a very
Ava that
long time ago
whoever
that I
is
would
doing this
never
has
go
a
gaslighting
personal
again.
agenda,
I'm sure they
and the
wouldn't
only
listen, you
way
know.
to stop it is to
Whoever's
find the
doing
killer
this, it's
before they
personal to
find
them.
her. In the following scene, Stevie leads the group to Ray, another 1997 massacre survivor who also happens to be her boss.
Julie
Ava is
isn't your
shocked to learn that Ray
ex-wife.
is
Wait,
actually
Ray
Julie's
did
ex
Julie
husband, but
James?
they hate each other now.
Unfortunately.
The group
I don't know.
explains everything to him,
Fucking leave?
and Ray suggests
For reasons I
investigating
won't get
exactly who
into,
owned the truck that
I
went off the
wouldn't do
cliff,
that.
Police
since,
report?
according to the
There
report,
can be a
Sam
formal
had
police
stolen the
report
vehicle.
after what.
Next, the group heads to a junkyard where Sam's truck was taken after the accident. They meet the manager
Hello.
there, who reveals the truck belonged to their local pastor, Judah
1998.
Gillespie. That night,
Did the cops
the group
come?
stays
Tonight.
at Teddy's house for safety, except
Are you sure it's.
Stevie, who has to work the
We have to
night
get back to
shift.
the bar.
Teddy and Danica end up cuddling together while Milo and Ava retreat to the guest room. A while later, Milo steps outside to grab his charger from the car, but when he returns, the door is suddenly locked. He calls out for Ava, but before she can hear him, the fisherman wraps a rope around Milo's neck, causing the poor guy to gasp for air. The next day, Ava and
We
Danica
heard from
arrive at the
Milo.
church to look for Pastor Judah, but an employee tells
So
them
sorry
he's
about
not
your
here.
parents.
Danica requests to use the
Can I use your
restroom and
restroom?
sneaks into the pastor's office. Shortly after, the pastor
Ava?
shows up and engages in a
I
conversation with
was
Ava.
hoping to talk to you actually.
When the
You give her that
employee
book that you
brings up
had me
Sam's
read
death last year,
about grief.
the pastor gets
I don't
uncomfortable
recall
and tries to
exactly.
avoid the topic.
You're
Meanwhile,
struggling.
Danica discovers a
It's
book
hard
in
to
his
accept
office
that.
containing a photo of Sam and the pastor, revealing that they were very close. Up next, the girls head to the police station and inform an officer that Pastor Judah is hiding something and they must talk to him.
Miss
But the
Brooks and Miss
officer
Richards,
quickly alerts
you're
Grant
being
about this and
hysterical.
they decide to hold the girls overnight in a cell for being hysterical. They're not allowed to leave the room and their phones are confiscated. That evening, Teddy is drinking alone and watching fireworks since it's the 4th of July, but he soon notices his electric gates are malfunctioning and rushes to check the problem. Unfortunately, this turns out to be a mistake, and the fisherman who had been lurking nearby immediately strikes him. The two get into an intense fight during which a badly injured Teddy manages to knock the killer down and run away. He makes a desperate attempt to get to the house and alert his family, but his injuries slow him down. Unfortunately for him, the fisherman has regained his strength by this point and drags him into the darkness. Moments later, Grant hears the doorbell ring, and when he opens the door, he's horrified to see his son bloodied and barely clinging to life. But the fisherman hiding nearby immediately drives the hook through his throat and tragically ends his life as well. The next morning at the police station, the officers are seen panicking and the girls are finally allowed to leave. They exit the building and notice a crowd of people gathered outside. We then see a disturbing scene where Teddy and Grant's bodies hang in the middle of town, on display for everyone to see. Danica is horrified and Ray advises the girls to
Are
leave
you gonna get
Southport
stuck here?
immediately for their safety.
Text Milo.
They
Tell him to meet
agree,
us at the dock.
but just then they notice Milo's car nearby and see his lifeless body lying in the back seat. Ava completely breaks down, but her friends quickly pull her away. Stevie then leads the girls to a boat so they can get the hell out of this cursed town. Meanwhile, the officers arrive at the church to arrest Pastor Judah, only to be met with a horrifying sight. The man has already been murdered, his body left kneeling, and his eyes cruelly gouged out. Here, the police come across a shocking photo from Pastor Judah's belongings. The picture shows Pastor Judah with Sam, and in a chilling twist, Stevie is standing right beside Sam, smiling warmly as she embraces him. The scene then returns to the boat where the fisherman suddenly appears and tries to attack Danica. The girls freeze in horror as the killer turns out to be none other than Stevie. They demand to know what she did this, and Stevie explains that she has held a grudge against the group for years, ever since they abandoned her when her father left town. She became addicted to drugs and went to rehab, where she met Sam, who helped her cope with her trauma. On the night
Kevin
of the
fully
accident,
orthodox, can't
Sam
any loose
feared
ends.
Stevie would relapse, so he
You took
took
the person
past
that
the
I love the
Judas
most away
truck to
from me, and I
find out.
needed you to know.
Stevie
Remember?
then reveals she never got
Kenny
close
said we
enough
were
to the
going to
truck
the
to
bar.
see
Yeah, pretty much.
who was inside. However, when she
I
learned
thought about
the
killing
truth,
myself a
she was
while,
driven
that's
into
sweet.
intense grief and decided to seek revenge. Upon hearing this, the girls are stunned when Ava grabs her head and they go wild, sparking a brutal struggle between them. We then see Ray approaching as Ava rushes to the deck and screams for help. Meanwhile, Danica and Stevie are locked in an intense fight with the psycho girl gaining the upper hand. But before
Let her
she can
go,
deal the final blow,
Stevie!
Ray arrives and
What
points
are
a
you
gun at
doing
Stevie.
here?
He and
Everyone
Ava
said you got
both
everything
beg
you
her not
wanted.
to do
Just
this,
let.
but Stevie shows no mercy and brutally stabs Danica with her hook, throwing her into the water.
There
Seeing
needs
this,
to
Ray
be
shoots
a
Stevie with a
gun.
heavy heart. Distraught, Ava can't stop crying over the loss of her best friend, but Ray assures her that it's finally over. Afterward, Ava calls Judy to inform her that she is at Ray's bar and that Stevie turned out to be the killer, but she can't understand how Stevie could have done all of this alone. Julie finds this suspicious and looks up the girl online only to be shocked by a picture of Stevie and Ray together, revealing their close relationship. Meanwhile, Ava is with Ray, who removes his jacket,
Okay,
but Ava's
thanks.
eyes widen in
Suit yourself.
horror when she notices the wound on his arm and recalls how she hurt the fisherman at the Bayside house. The terrified
Thank you
girl
so much
says
for
she wants to
everything.
go home, but the door is locked and it doesn't take long for Ray to
No
drop his
problem.
facade. He reveals that Stevie wanted to spare Ava since she was the only one who tried to do the right thing that night. But now he has no
I don't
choice.
think I have a
Ava is
choice.
stunned that he killed his partner, but Ray shockingly reveals that he actually didn't, implying that Stevie is still alive. Without wasting any time, he begins attacking Ava and the two get into an intense fight where Ava is badly injured. Shortly after, Julie
Ava?
arrives at the bar and finds
Ava!
Ava with a knife lodged in her bag. She assures the girl that the
It's gonna be
cops are
okay.
on their way. At this moment, Ray also appears,
Before
so Julie demands to know why he is doing all this.
they fucked
Ray
her whole
explains that
life
he's
up.
trying to do the right
Those
thing because
French
these
and
kids ruined
murder
Stevie's life by
spree.
taking away
So
the
you
only
used
friend she had left.
investors.
Tried
He
to
also
erase
states
us.
that he feels
They
betrayed by
walk
the town
around
of
here pretend
Southport,
people remember.
which has done everything it can erase the legacy of the
1997 all
1997
over
killings to
again.
attract new residents.
This
Upon
town is
hearing this,
overrated.
Julie is stunned. Ray reveals his
You know,
plan to blame everything on her,
I think I'll
claiming
at
she's the
first
one
I
who
thought it was a
lost her mind.
problem you getting
And then, when the deranged man is about to strike her, Ava shoots him from behind with a harpoon and finally ends his pathetic life. In the final scene, Danica washes up on the shore, barely conscious but alive, where a
Oh my
group
god!
of locals discover
Are you
her
okay?
and rush her
I'm
to the
sorry.
hospital. After her recovery, she reunites with Ava and the two escape to a quiet
Feel
beach to
better?
eat
I
some
hope so
food
now.
and discuss the
Yeah, this
summer
whole
so far.
experience has been could
The
have
movie
probably been
concludes with
avoided
Ava
if
revealing that
men just
Stevie is
went to
still alive,
therapy.
and the girls joke that they must kill
You're
her before
my
she hunts them
soulmate.
down first. And that
Stevie's
was the chilling
alive.
story of a man trapped in a
What the
house
fuck?
where every passing car could mean death. But what do you think? Was he
Tonight, we're
cursed or was
tracking
it
a
something
developing
far
story.
darker that no one
Akron
could explain?
University professor
If you
Jeffrey
enjoyed this
Chase
recap, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe to CineSnap, and ring the bell so you never miss more mind blending movie stories.